Hello, Tommy, as we go live. Tom's just stepped in as we go live. 00 shaking 7 works for MI 6 still in LONDON. Tommy, Merry Crimbo.
Merry Crimbo, everybody. How we doing?
Merry Crimbo. People have been in here early. It's a tragic day. It's a dark day in Manchester United history, Tom. And we're here to pick apart the details of this. We stayed consistent on this channel, and I'm glad that you're not shirking it because you've come here. And the 3-course meal is on Tommy. That was the bet, people. That was the bet. But to be fair, we told you all that the Glazers were never selling. And to be fair, Tom, you also agreed. So it's no bet whatsoever. You also agreed. We were right, Tom. Our instincts were right. They were looking for investment. They got their investment. And Judas, that is the Ratcliffe, has given it to them. He's bought, just to give you the headlines, people, he's bought 17% of Class B shares, which have the voting rights and have the power. 69% of the Glazer shares. He's bought 17 of that. And he's going to buy 8 of the 31 that's floated on the New York Stock Exchange, which are Class A. That's what makes 25% for Jim the Ratcliffe. And there's no pathway to any further deals or any further in terms of takeover. And everything I was telling everybody, that this guy is coming for the vanity project for his name to be associated with Manchester United. And he can make all the changes he wants. In that part of the board, the new football structure, the head of it is Joe Glazer, Jim Ratcliffe, and David Brailsford. And there we go. Tommy, how are you? Merry Christmas, my friend. I hope Santa, I hope you're being good. Even though 00 Tom, out and about, Man of Mystery International, out there and everywhere. I hope you've been good this year, Tommy. And I hope Santa's been kind to you. But big up to you, Tom.
Listen, it might be kind to me, not be kind to Man United, has it? He's put the Judas curse on this.
Yo, Santa was like, I ain't down for this shit. Santa was like, let's be out with this. Santa was like, at Manchester United, Crimbo is cancelled. That's what he did. He's literally buried us. And Tom, isn't it, as a journalist, isn't it fascinating? That's my first question. Isn't it fascinating they dropped the news on Christmas Eve?
You can look at it for what you want, conspiracy or, good timing, bad timing, whatever. The way I'd look at it is, well, it's the festive season. They've got the feet under the table. They've announced it publicly now, what the deal is, what the perks of the deal are, what the Glazers gain from it, what Ratcliffe's gains from it. And we know the numbers and the figures and the logistics of it all now. From what's been put out there. I think the bigger thing anyway for a lot of people anyway right now is that there isn't this exit clause. That's the one thing that's pissed everybody off. And if I'm being honest with you, that's the one thing that has pissed me off completely with the whole deal from start to finish. That exit clause gained him a little bit of credit in the bank maybe, because there was a time frame of when they can go Nuruddin. But there isn't any of that now. There's nothing. It's literally come in, bought 25% of a piss pot of each of the shares, and he's going to run the football operations. That's it. And he'll take his little cut out of the kitty every single year in the financial divers. That'll literally be it probably. But the only thing that he's got, instead of the exit clause, is if the family ever want to sell shares, he gets first refusal. Well, what the fucking hell does that mean? But if Sir Jim is prepared to pay a certain price for those shares and somebody else wants to come in and pay a different price, what's going to happen there? This is what I mean. There's so many complicated questions to it, and there's nobody who's going to give us any answers. And the one thing that I said, Nuruddin, anyway, a couple of weeks ago when we discussed about this, I said if Jim Ratcliffe wanted to get off on a good footing, it wouldn't get me back on side. But if he wanted to get on a good footing, get on a plane from Monaco to Manchester and come to Manchester United fans in their own city, where you say you're a local lad, you're a local boy, you're a Manchester United fan, and tell them what you're actually going to do with their football club. Then, listen, it's nothing. It might be nothing brilliant that everybody wants to hear, but it's something that we haven't had in 17, 18 years. Is somebody who will stand there, take the criticism to the face, and say, right, well, if you've got a lot of questions, I'll give you the answers to all these questions then. But I don't think Sir Jim Ratcliffe's that sort of person anyway. Me personally, I really don't. I think he'll hide behind.
But Tom, doesn't that tell you
wealth
everything that they announced the news on Christmas Eve?
Well, it's funny that, Nuruddin, isn't it? Because Christmas Day, nobody's really going to do anything. It's a family day. Pretty much, let's face it, family and friends. You spend the day with them. Boxing Day is probably the layover from Christmas. If everybody's been having too many sherries or they're on the vodka or whatever. So you're not really going to be doing Manchester United streams or writing articles, newspapers or whatever. Listen, everybody's locking up the warehouses, putting the pens and papers down, computers are down, and they're having a good couple of days. That's it. So probably for these next couple of days, they're not going to take as much flack as maybe they would do if they'd have done it, say, a couple of weeks prior to it. But the whole thing, it's a fucking sham anyway. Let's be honest. The timing of it's shocking. The details of it are slim and far and few between, if we're being honest. And I guess finally, to summarise, like I said, the big thing that pisses me off is the exit clause. That is the only thing that Sir Jim Ratcliffe really, if he had any doubt or credibility left for this deal to even give Manchester United fans a little bit of hope, was that. And he's failed them. Let's be honest, he's fucking failed, and he's not even through the door yet. And he's already failed United fans. And I don't care what he says about this, about being a local boy, and put the Manchester back into Manchester United, and he's a Manchester United fan. If he's a Manchester United fan, he knows how much this fan base and these fans hate the Glazer family. And you've got into bed with them, and you've basically said to them, you can stay as long as you want. And he's not even tried to push for them to go by like 3 years, 4 years. Because if the Glazer family still said no,
there's nothing to that.
Then you get out of the race, mate. You get the fuck out of here, and you do what Qatar did, and then they have nothing. But there's none of that, yes. And I think that, like I said, the timing of it's shameful and it's a sham. And at the end of the day, for me, if I had to look at it from the outset looking in, they look at it as it's an opportunity, a bit of PR. It's not going to blow back in their face because there's not going to be any protest till Boxing Day, maybe a couple of banners or flares, and that might be it. But what have the Glazer family never had to do before? They've never had to face that face to face. Ratcliffe's going to do the exact same thing. He'll sit in his millionaire mansion in Monaco and do fuck all. That's all he's going to do. But if he wanted to differentiate himself, Nuruddin, the first thing that I'd do is I'd get on a plane from Monaco to Manchester and I'd go and be at the Villa game. Go and be at the Villa game. That's one thing that you could do. Yeah, you might get a couple of pelters or a couple of peppers maybe from you, Nuruddin, if you get your hands on him or whatever. But listen, at the end of the day, he's done what he's done, and you can't go back on what you've done now, Sir Jim. So hold tight, mate. Hold fucking tight, because if this family can stab you in the back, either legally speaking or in the operations of this football club, they're gonna do, mate. Because when you make a wrong decision on the football side of the club, they're gonna burn you to the stake, because they'll say, well, we've got nothing to do with it anymore. That's all it's going to be. And it's just going to be blamed to Jim. But at the end of the day, it's a fucking sham. And the timing of it is disgraceful. Honestly, the best thing that you could have done, Nuruddin, wait until the new year. Honestly, I'd have waited until the new year. You've waited this fucking long. Wait till the new year.
Listen, big up to everybody who's tuning in. There's 150 of you in here. I wish we didn't have to do this, but we had to go live because it's a dark day. It's a tragic day. It's not a dark day. It's a tragic day for Manchester United. Jim the Ratcliffe and Jimjudas, as we call him. Jimjudas now. That's what he is. He sold any sort of hope or believe in anything to do with Manchester United. We'll break down in a minute how almost out of that billion, 700 million is going to the Glazers in their pockets, and it's a breakdown who he goes to. We'll do that for you, but let me just get the super chat. Big up, Lucas, towards your own 25%, buddy. Thank you for the share. Listen to the therapy man. Thank you, Lucas. Big up to you, bro. I just say this, people. This channel has stood alone When everybody was clickbaiting, when everybody was doing what they were doing, this channel and you, the therapy army, stood firm and said, we've got a degree, we've got a PhD. We haven't got a master's, we've got PhD in Glazers. We know who these vultures are. When people show you who they are, Maya Angelou said, believe them. And I have studied these people since Joe's Day times, 5 years ago when I started researching these people. And I realized who they were and what they do. So we stood firm on this channel when other channels did everything they did. And when other channels and all over social media, everybody did what they did. I just want now the twerkers, the Jim Ratcliffe twerkers, to come forward. And we already got one in our midst tonight. His name is Dorosky. We could win the league and people will still be negative. That's a brilliant, that one. But yeah, you need to come with that twerks. Get your skirt on, get your G-string on. Come forward, man. Start twerking. Or get your shorts on if you're a man and you're twerking, innit? Get your shorts on and start twerking. Because this is who you are, my friend. You are twerking, and we stood firm against all the abuse. I got racially abused. I got verbal abuse. I got abuse from everybody to say, I don't know what I'm talking about. Qatar's taking over. The Glazers are selling. They got to go. They have to go. The club will still be in £1 billion in debt. I don't know how they're going to fix it. And they said 300 million, maybe. 300 million, maybe, to be spent on the stadium. So we're saying that we knew this. We got vindicated yet again, therapy army. We all got vindicated. Bumbaye, if you're there, you're making lots of noise. Are you there? He's having a Christmas. We're not. Jarvis, Merry Christmas. Yes. Ho, ho, ho,
Merry
ho.
Christmas.
Ho,
Merry
ho,
Christmas.
ho, ho. How's the Jarvis crew? How's the family?
Yeah. Well, it's been a busy day. It's Christmas. In Norway, we open the presents at Christmas Eve, and now we have been doing all this process with the kids and everything. But I finally got them to bed, so now it's Jarvis time. I can do my stuff. I haven't even had the time to read the full statement, but I have heard a little bit on YouTube channels, and I read a little bit on Twitter. So I think I have a quite control of it. What I react to when I read it, I see he said they would provide the 300 million fund intended to enable future investments. What does that mean? What does that even mean?
Jarvis, take one word: intended. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. There's one word for you that I don't like straight away.
And you know what? I've got another word for you, Jarvis, so stay there. Big up Khalees. Khalees has put this part. He says, as part of this transaction, Ineos has accepted a request by the board to be delegated responsibility for the management of the football club operations. Delegated to be delegated responsibility.
Call the lawyer.
Yeah.
Break it down for you.
But Jarvis, we stood firm in this channel. To be fair, you stood firm with us. And we said, these guys, we can never trust them. I told everybody, never trust the word that ever comes out of a Glazer's mouth. Never. And we've been part of the journey since this has began. It was this time last year, or maybe November this time last year. It took maybe 12, 13 months. And all we've got is he owns now 17% of Class B shares, which the Glazers own 69%. Right? He has got 17, and then he's going to get 8 of the New York Stock Exchange, the 31%, which is clients say, which have 0. 0. So, Jarvis, they were not even willing to give him 25% of from the 69. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells me that Jim Ratcliffe wanted this deal because of something else than the ownership or an opportunity to change the club. I think it's, as you have said a lot of times, it's a vanity project from Ratcliffe, pure vanity from his side. I just want to say, 18 years ago, the Glazers came in, they bought the club, or they stole the club on borrowed money. They put all the debt into our club. Our club and players are dissolving at the moment. Our training field, it's old fashioned. we heard Ronaldo say he had to bring his own ice bath, for example. They have no technology. Our stadium is rusty. It smells like piss in the toilets. The roof is leaking. What more do we have? We have 1.2 billion pounds in debt. We don't have any money, nothing in our bank account, and our credit card is maxed. This is the Glazers. And now Sir Jim Ratcliffe comes in, buys 17%. He hands the Glazers 117 million pounds straight in their pocket, not into the club's pockets, into the Glazers' pockets, for running this club to the ground by stolen money. And this is why a lot of fans today are celebrating. And there's no agreement in the statement that says that he will buy the club in the next 3 to 5 or 10 years. So basically, he have handed them a lifeline to stay as long as they want. They have the majority. He gave them 117 million pounds, and they don't give
Jarvis, he's happy to condone it then. That's what springs to me. He's happy to condone it.
Yeah.
He's condoning what they've done and run this football club into the ground. Because even with the football operations, what can he really do? He can't make money from the football operations side of the club. You make money commercially. And the family, they make money, but they don't reinvest it into United. That's the bigger thing, I think, for me anyway, guys, is who's going to be paying for all this? Because I don't understand. Sir Jim sits here now with 25%. He doesn't exactly have an exit clause, Nuruddin, Jarvis and Mumbai. So who's paying for this new stadium? What, Sir Jim sat over here with 17%? Not even 25%. He's going to build a new stadium for him.
Tom, what he's going to do is going to borrow the money, and that's going to be more debt, Ineos debt, and number one is going to be taken out of Manchester United to build.
But do you know something though? He'll try and portray it as if it's we'll put it towards Ineos, and Ineos will pay the debts and blah blah blah. It doesn't work like that, Sir Jim. Because if you build a new stadium for Manchester United, it is linked to who? If Ineos go out of business, who's the banks and who's the investment cults and corporations going to come towards? Manchester United. They're not going to come towards you, Sir Jim, if you're broke and Ineos have run out of business, mate. It doesn't work like that. But
facts. Listen, my cousins in Liverpool, and my cousins, some of them are Liverpool fans. They're celebrating tonight. Some of them are letting off fireworks of the news. Mumbai, we want to get your reaction. Are you there? Mumbai, are you there?
Yes, brothers. Good evening, everybody. Big up Therapy Army, Free Palestine always and forever, man. Until we are victorious. And you know me.
Let me just get the super chat quickly.
Okay.
We were beating the Super League before you can blink. Big up Alien Tunnel. Go ahead, Mumbai.
Yeah, I mean, man, when it comes to football, I think, I'm the cream of this quattro of us, but I put up with you three. But on this subject, you guys are the experts, so just gonna have to go with whatever it is you're saying. What's actually happened there? I'm not very good at this stuff. I just know that the Glazers are a cancer. I'm sorry to say it. On Manchester United, they are the nemesis, the absolute diametric opposite of everything this club stands for and everything that I like about the club. They are vultures. It's a perfect word. And everything that Tom's saying seems to hit home. I can't make sense of how you put in 1.8 billion. And I'm trying to ask myself, how do you get the return back? It must be now that the Super League, they maybe know something we don't. Because if that happens, we're talking maybe big money, right? Big different type of money if it takes off. Maybe that's the goal, and he wants to share in that, have his name. Maybe it is a vanity project, because that's the thing, just like you give 1.8 billion and you're asking yourself, okay, how do I make a return on 1.8 billion? How does that work? I'm not sure where the revenue streams are from Manchester United to make a return on 1.8 billion. I mean, how do you even break even, and when do you break even? He's 71. Do you get what I'm trying to say? I think Man United is a PLC, right?
Yeah.
So basically, Jarvis
we're registered in the Cayman Islands.
Yeah, of course we are. So I think how it works is us four all of us can be shareholders, and can take a loan out, but everything is measured not against my personal assets because it's a public limited company. I think it all goes back to basically sharks taking big bites out of this club until there's nothing left of it. I think that's how it works, Loans, right?
Yeah.
So God help us is all I can say, man. It's just the fucking Rock of Gibraltar, man. The worst thing that happened to us was these people, these wretched bastards, man. Honestly, they're horrible, nasty, nasty pieces of work, man. You know, I don't know how you get rid of them. It's just an unfair world. This, it really is. You have to watch this theater of dreams just turn into a nightmare. You can't even assess a manager. You can't assess a player. We're just so frustrated, all of us, that either we turn on each other or you just start having to put the blame somewhere. So the manager will get it, the players will get it. Great players, Scott McTominay will get it. Ain't right.
Yeah.
Oh, do you agree? Nice one.
It ain't right.
Now, listen, at the end of the day,
I'm serious. I don't know what to say.
We've said it, and to me, I just think I feel so bad for the United fans who are celebrating this. And you can already see the types of journalists. I've been calling some of them out tonight, and some of them have been just absolutely disturbing. They're like, oh, he's set up a company, a separate company. Is it the Isle of Man or the Isle of Wight, whatever he is?
Isle of Man, yeah.
Isle of Man. Why is the Isle of Man? Another tax haven. So
listen, man, at this level of business, Dino, these people don't play with their own money. They play with other people's money, and they play with other people's sustenance. They don't use their own.
Yeah.
Everything is loans. Everything is leveraged. At this level of the game, it is very dirty and very crooked, and people are cutthroat and heartless. They didn't get there because they're honorable and lovely and good. The person that goes to swim with those sharks, either he learns to swim like them or he's going to get eaten alive. They're operating at a level that I can't tell you I know it, but I don't think, looking now at this, the way it's happened, Class B shares for 1.8 billion is a mammoth valuation of a club. So I'm not sure what the motive is. I can't know. Everything's on the table right now, but it's not. I'm not going into this filled with anything but apprehension. I'm a little bit scared that one day I'm going to wake up, Manchester United's gone into administration or liquidation or some shit. Look at Everton. What happened, man? It's crazy.
Yeah.
It
can happen to any club though.
Of course it can.
Barcelona have been broke for like fucking 5 years nearly now.
Tom, Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch. They make Man United look like a little country club. They went under, man. So
there you go, people. See. On the screen, what you could see now is a breakdown of the money and that percentage that are going to the Glazers. Avram, Joel, Richard, Cliff. This, I think, are the board as well. Following topic shows number of shares owned by our directors and members of our exclusive management. And Ed, Rob, so one Glazer, two. So have a look at the Glazers that are on there. So look, even Richard Arnold's getting a bit. Cliff Batte's getting some. Patrick Stewart is getting some. Kevin Glazer, Brian Glazer, Darcy Glazer, Edward Glazer, Robert, Lazio, Manus, I can't say. Sune, John Hooks. All these thieving bastards are all getting it. They're all getting some of that. That's the breakdown of the percentages, how they're all getting it. That is what they're getting, people. So everybody's winning on the pain of Manchester United. Manchester United are $1 billion and a bit in debt. But that is where is that, people. That is where is that. So tonight we mourn, to me, of the next decade and maybe next 2 decades. Like Bumbaye said, and like somebody said here in the comments, they will outlive him. This is it. Georgie said, the Glazers are all younger than Jim the Rat. They will outlive him. They certainly will. And it says here, this is going to be interesting. Ratcliffe Innocent will demonstrate they do not have sporting control over Manchester United and needs if they qualify to same UEFA competitions. Well, they're going to be in the Champions League. We're going to be in the Europa. Actually, we might not be in Europa. I hope we're not in the Europa. But It's
Well,
what it
we
is.
won't be able because they can drop down to Europa, so we can't. Even the Conference League, that's the only European tournament we can play in if Nice is in the Champions League.
It
Yeah.
the way that I think it works, guys. Correct me if I'm wrong with UEFA. Is it depends on what league those clubs finish, what position in those leagues those clubs finish in. So you could have a situation where Nice finished second and United finished fourth. Because Nice finished higher in their domestic league, they automatically qualify for the Champions League ahead of United. I think that's how the ruling works, but I think
Yeah.
they're changing it so the owner decides.
Yeah, but
Unless,
we're not dropping down to the Europa League. We're dropping down to the Conference League.
that's what I mean, Jarvis.
Yeah,
You
because
have
we
to
can't
drop.
compete.
This is what I'm saying, guys. You have to drop 2 tiers before you can get away from this. That's the issue that you're going to have right now. And
Listen,
the problem with it is, it's only going to get further and further complicated if Nice, in hindsight, went and joined a Super League, for example. Who knows? They might be one of those clubs that gets invited to the party. Decent looking French team, doing quite well this season. Put them in the Super League because they've not been in the Champions League for the last couple of years since the Jim's been in ownership of them. And then what do you know? Suddenly Manchester United might join it, and then they don't have to play in these 2 tiers of European competitions between the 3 of them, Jarvis. It might just be that they might play each other week in, week out. We don't know. But the issue that I have with it is from the balance sheet and the outside looking in, guys, I just don't see the opportunity here. You've got a business that's failing.
hold that. Well, hold that
what?
thought there. Let me just get this. Big up, Sean P. Casey, Liverpool fan. It says, so Jim will fix it. Your banter is forever. Like I said, our rivals are celebrating tonight. They're popping champagnes. I've been shown a couple of videos. People are getting drunk on the death of Manchester United, as some of them seem. And Tom, let you carry on. I'll go on mute. But the only thing I'll say is, we told you so. Remember the channel that stayed true. Never shirked. We never shirked our responsibility. We told the fans not what was popular, not what was needed, but what the facts as we understand it to be, knowing that we have that insight into how the Glazers' minds work. We studied them for 5 fucking years that I will never get back. We will never get back those 5 years that we studied and looked into who the Glazers are. And for all those people that claim it, shame on you. Let's just get this. Name change, breaking news. United, real twerkers. Pick up Alien, tell her Merry Christmas. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, like I said, I just don't see the business opportunity. And with what Bumbaye said, where he was saying the numbers of 1.5 billion and those sort of figures, I think the only reason why he's paid so much is because he's going to have an influence inside of the club, or a supposed influence. It's like the wordings of the statement that you said, Jarvis, when I picked out that one word.
Yeah.
What was it again? Internal or something? I think it was, wasn't it? Initial investment
Intended.
or something.
Intended.
Intended. That was it. Sorry, intended. What the fuck does that mean? So it's intended to go into Manchester United, but it might not actually. What the fucking hell does that mean? It either goes in or it doesn't it? You either put money in or not. It's like you go to a petrol station, you fill your car up. You're either going to put petrol in it or you're not, aren't you? And you're going to drive away. At the end of the day, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, the way that he's worded this, it just sounds dodgy. The way he actually stated in that first ever press release when he come in to buy the club, it sounded dodgy. I'm going to put the Manchester back into Manchester United and all this bollocks. I don't want to hear it, Sir Jim. I really don't. I've heard this for fucking years. I heard Richard Arnold was different to Ed Woodward. Mate, they went to the same university. They're fucking best mates, and they've been on the piss. I'm not really shocked with these people at all. And at the end of the day, even when people sit here now and say, "Oh, Sir Dave Brailsford's coming in," you know, fucking Jean-Claude Blanc's coming in, or Paul Mitchell's coming in. You can bring in every single person of top elite level quality. If you're not going to give them the responsibilities, or Sir Jim doesn't have the power to give them the responsibilities, what is the use in bringing them in? People are twerking around and say, "Oh, we're going to get Dan Ashworth, we're going to get Paul Mitchell. Oh, it's going to be brilliant. We're going to build a brilliant scouting network and structure." Who's to say you bring these people in that they're even going to be in control to buy players? They might not be.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, who keeps the hands on the coffers of cash guys at this football club? Because it ain't Sir Jim. Unless he's going to put his own money in, mate, it ain't going to be Sir Jim who's going to be touching that money of United's. Because he's not in control of that side of the club. Because that's not what he signed up for. And if he realised he couldn't get his hands on the money for what United make to put it in, reinvest it into United, but reinvest it in the right way, he should have never bought in. And at the end of the day, when you come into this football club, the only way that you could have maybe sweetened the deal for United fans and saved yourself a little bit of face would have been, there's an exit clause in 3 years, I'll buy them out. Something like that. 2-3 years. I agreed with you, Nuruddin. I'll buy them out by the end of next year. 12 months. I'll buy the rest of the shares. He's not prepared to do it. Not prepared to do it. And at the end of the day, I don't want to hear this about, there's a financial crisis in America, so you can't get loans and banks and everything. Listen, any of us four on here can apply for a fucking loan from a bank. Every bank's going to give somebody, is prepared to give people money, even in crises, guys. They're prepared to give people money. That's how they work. That's how they finance things. Ratcliffe, I just don't understand this. And even when people say this about being a vanity project, I can dismiss that straight away from my perspective. And the way that I can do that is, do you really think, and I know net worth equates to assets, not cash in the bank, but do you really think a guy's going to blow nearly half of what he's worked his whole life on Manchester United? Because £10 billion, you're coming close and steeping up to maybe those sort of figures. New stadium, new training ground, maybe new facilities, and infrastructure around Manchester United, around Old Trafford. You really think he's going to stump up at least what? Maybe all of that I've just said there, that's maybe $3 billion. Then you've got to invest in all the teams, guys. Then if there's any problems with these projects, that's going to cost more money. Not everything goes plain and sailing.
Tom, let's break it down. Tom, let's break it down.
Suddenly, suddenly, Nuruddin, a guy who owns 17% is paying for all this. He's going to blow half of his money that he's worked 71 years of his life for. Really? The guy, at the end of it, he's not going to do it. He doesn't have the ball to do it. Because if he was going to spend that much money on Manchester United at 17%, well, then he had the money all along, guys, to buy them out properly, did he not? Yeah. So why didn't he do it? And the reason why, guys, comes down to what? I don't want to hear that it's the family, because money talks. Money talks. Listen, if you offer them a stupid number and it's like you roll the dice and it's Monopoly sort of money, listen, they'll take it, mate. They will.
Tom, I genuinely don't think so. I think they're using, now that I think about it, I think they might be using United to loan the money and put loads of debt on the club so they can get money for their other businesses. Because it's the only business they have that still makes them money.
Nuruddin,
even though they're wearing a lot of debt.
I'd say one thing though, and this is the last thing I'll say. If somebody come in tomorrow and write them a blind check of $10 billion, they'd leave straight away. They would leave. $10 billion for a failing football club financially, can't do anything on the football field because they don't know how to run a football club.
But you're forgetting this, Tom.
Big gains.
You're forgetting this. As long as the Super League is in play, or Club World Championship,
it depends where the money
can make money.
The problem with the Super League, though, Nuruddin, I get the argument. The problem with the Super League is it depends who's funding it. That's
who's going to fund it? It's JP Morgan.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. But this is
the
what
bankers.
I'm saying. You don't know because we didn't know where the money was going to come from for it. The 2019 and 2020 proposal for the Super League was going to be American venture capitalist money. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, all these kind of guys were going to group together, put say £1 billion every single summer or every single season, and build their own TV, basically build their own league from scratch. That's what they were going to do. Put the shares and the TV rights up. But the 1 year that I would say, and Peter in the chat anyway, Alien Tenno, big up to him, he said it perfectly for what I was going to say. The current TV deal runs out in 2029. 2023, guys, you have this big vision in the Middle East, especially in Saudi Arabia, Project 2023. Yeah, new city, the investment, the money for that country. 2023, who's to say the Saudi Arabians might not want to buy the shares of it and buy the TV rights deals for it and fund it like they're doing in their own league? Listen, they've already taken over football. They've got a seat in Formula One. They've got a seat in basically every sport. Somebody, and I understand what you're saying, Ruben, and guys, about the Super League. Yeah, absolutely. But the only thing I'll say with the Super League is, right here and now,
they're going to be part of it, Tom.
They
Saudis
won't be
are gonna
part
be
of it.
100%.
I'm not denying that they won't be part of it, Rudy.
They're going to love it. Their
the
teams
only
in
thing that
Saudi
I'm
Arabia
saying
playing
to you-
against Real Madrid.
The only
Juventus.
thing that I'm saying,
Hey,
the only thing
Tom,
I'm going to say to you is, it depends on the timing. And right now, because of what agreements they had in place that they signed with the Premier League, they are broke, so they can't afford to break away again and pay these mega fines. They don't have the money to do it.
Tom,
They don't
I
have the money
promise
to
you,
do
they'll
it.
get the Premier League involved, and if it's money, Premier League will fold. Go ahead, Tom. Go ahead there, Jarvis.
Yeah, go on,
Okay,
Jarvis.
we have been waiting for this takeover to finally be
It's not
announced.
a takeover,
now,
by the way. It's just an investment.
No. The investment.
Yeah.
We have been waiting for 12, 13 months since we first heard sniffs about it. And on Thursday, the Court of Justice in the European Union, EU, made a proposal that concluded that both FIFA and UEFA abused their dominant position and therefore violated the rules of competition and free market. It means that the Super League is on. And now, 3 days later,
It can be reformed.
3 days later, it's official. Jim Ratcliffe comes in. Do you think it's a coincidence?
Jarvis, I'll ask you the question. Is it a coincidence that they announced it on their Christmas Eve?
Well, but 3 days after the rule of justice came out with the Super League, because the Super League now is on, and it means only one thing. You know the statement Man United sent out right after the ruling from the EU came? They said, we will not take part of the Super League. You can take that paper and wipe your ass, because that's the only thing it's worth, that paper. It's bullshit. So
Brown
we are going into the Super League, and if you're
Jarvis.
afraid that Man United won't be a deal of the domestic league in Britain or Champions League or stuff like that going forward, this is the reality. We are going to be a part of the Super League, either we like it or not. And Jim Ratcliffe is on board because he know it. The ruling came on Thursday, and today was the investment 3 days after. So all we know is Ratcliffe is on board. Super League, here we go.
There we go. Listen, guys, we told you about this. I hate to be right. We hate to be right again, but we are. And we stood firm, and we took a lot of abuse for it on Twitter, on here, in the comments, on everywhere, when we called out people like this here, these dickheads here, the Muppeteers. This was the Glazer Inside Jim Ratcliffe Consortium channel that was set up. And to me, you need to go and ask this Muppet here, the Muppeteers. That's the right kind of name for them. And you need to go and ask. I mean, I'm ashamed even of people like Andy Mitten talking about, ooh, that's like a thing to Cantona. This company that he set up that's buying United in the Isle of Man. That is the trawlers. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? That's a Trawler Limited.
Trawlers Limited.
That's a nod to Cantona.
It's a parent company to Ineos for anyone who's interested.
Oh, listen.
A parent company, not a subsidiary.
No, because what Ratcliffe does is when he makes gas and electricity deals through petrochemicals with the UK, he does it through the Isle of Man because why? Tax-free. Doesn't have to pay tax on any deals that he makes. And then it goes straight from the Isle of Man to Portsmouth docks or Southampton, wherever.
Do we, I mean, just as a side point, does Manchester United suffer less by him taking and utilising that tax-free haven?
The Glazers did it for years, and it's not helped.
I'd rather they were paying taxes, Bombay. I'm not in for any tax dodging whatsoever.
I know that, bro. I'm
Have you
just
seen what's
asking
happened
the
to the
question.
NHS? You see what had to happen to social care? You see what's happening to schools,
I-
to roads.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm
It's
asking
not
the
helping
question
Manchester
though.
United because he doesn't help the
Okay.
fans. It doesn't help anybody. He is a tax dodging cunt. That's what he is.
Yeah, tax dodging, man. You know what I mean? There's,
He's a tax dodging bastard.
Yeah.
He's the biggest supporter of Brexit. Then he moved to Monaco. Brexit for us. No tax for him. He lives in Monaco. And by the way, he can only come here and like stay for maybe 90 days, something like that. Then he's got to piss off because he's not a resident of the UK. But he'll tell you, I'll put the Manchester back into Manchester United. You know what you've done? You've absolutely looped up your both fists and shoved it up our batty. That's what you've done to the fan base. You've absolutely bent over the fans. You absolutely
let's ask you
So
this.
I want to
then.
got a message to him. How do you sleep at night, you absolute Judas? You absolute the guy's a United fan who wanted to buy Barcelona. He wanted to buy
Chelsea.
Chelsea. And I think he wanted to buy somebody else, if I'm not mistaken. Before
He's
he even
got a
bought Manchester
sponsorship.
United.
He's got a sponsorship. Ineos have got a sponsorship deal with Spurs. They own Nice. They own, I think they had percentages in.
They own
I can't remember
Nice,
what team it was. A Spanish
a
team. I
team
think
called. They own a team called Lausanne, and they own the
Lausanne,
Grenadiers as well. They own the Grenadiers. I mean, I just read the article as you were talking. I suppose I'm here questioning the integrity of Jim Ratcliffe, and what Thomas said is definitely worth taking on board. What you're saying, Dino, for sure, and the coincidence that Jarvis is talking about is quite uncanny. So I'm definitely concerned. I'm on this show more to listen to you guys and then add something to the debate to push it along. I don't look to this stuff really. I just read it now. I mean, I suppose what I can hold him to account for is okay. So he's given them $1 billion. It's not 1.8 billion, and he's gonna reserve 300 million for investment into Manchester United. Okay, let's see. Number one, if we do get any changes
intended. I must add.
Yeah. Okay. Intended. Let's see if the intention is genuine and what happens over the coming months if there are some improvement. And secondly, he's taken over it. He's in charge of footballing operations, apparently exclusive. He has the power, from what I read in the Guardian just now, and he is looking to bring in. The names that are being put forward. What do you think of them? They seem good to me. Better than what we've got in terms of Murtaugh and Arnold and that. These are actually football guys. They have some pedigree behind them. Let's see what happens. I mean, the only response that I'd have to accept from anyone is them saying he's doing this as a means to appease us with his eye on the prize, which is the Super League. And that I can't, come back at you. But looking at the situation, I'm going to hold Jim to account for improvements in the stadium and to see what the structure looks like. If these guys come in and he's saying part of the statement was, we feel that the potential in that structural department is not, the output is underperforming, which is why we want to bring people with real experience and give them some substantive power in it. All right. If whilst fortunes start to change, players start to get, I think the behaviour of Manchester United will either remain consistent, in which point the integrity that we're questioning, we were right to do so completely, or you'll start to see Manchester United perhaps move in a different way, moving a bit better signing.
Moving to where?
Not moving in terms of signing better, clearing people out better, making decisive decisions, having a better plan.
Listen, Bombay, I've got a question for you. Bombay, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you know the footballing department that he's delegated to the Jim Ratcliffe and his bunch of Judas henchmen? He is sitting on top of that pyramid. Joe Glazer is still in charge.
Not according to this article.
No, because the article doesn't know shit. That journalist don't know jack. They've got a pyramid. Joe Glazer sits he's the head on that pyramid. It's Joe Glazer, the biggest shareholder in Manchester United, because he looks after the shares of Darcy, of all the other Glazers. He's the one who runs shit, right? Then you got Ratcliffe, Brailsford, and then you got the CEO, whoever they're going to hire. I'm sorry.
I think, you know, when you look at it, for example, Manchester United have a committee, apparently. Alex Ferguson's on that committee when it comes to footballing decisions.
Listen. Do not bring Ferguson
No,
into it.
I'm just
saying to you, do not bring Ferguson into this. All due respect. Listen to me. He just recently lost his partner, his wife, of so many years. He suffered a massive brain injury. He's just an ambassadorial role. He has nothing to say.
Do we have
the club's runs.
All right, let's leave Alex Ferguson out of this. Fine. Is there a committee that is in place to guide certain decisions that is consulted by the Glazers?
No.
Okay. Now, Joe Glazer, obviously, he only owns a quarter of the club, Jim Ratcliffe.
He didn't even own that.
Okay.
He owns 17%.
17%. So if Jim Ratcliffe is being said, right, you're in charge of now operations. You're the operations man in the club. We're going to leave you to that. You're not involved in the commercial, the marketing, the advertising, the other departments.
No. Have you read the statement? That's why they're bringing in this Claude Black, whatever his name, Blanc. Because Blanc is a successful marketing guy. and the in your statement says they're willing to expand Manchester United operations. And can I ask you one thing, Bombay? Because I know this because I've had to research it more than you do. So when you are operations, you've got an owner to deal with, and then you've got a board of directors to deal with. So operations, when I was a manager, I was one of the operational managers. I was down there and I was an operational manager. I had a boss to deal with. Then I had a owner to, and there was a board. That's how you deal with it. So they can come out and say whatever they want. Ineos can come up whatever plans they want, and the board just says, bats it away and says, no, we're not doing this.
You got a super chat there, bro.
He only owns 17%.
I understand that. I understand that.
That make a voting for him to. And then they said in the statement, they said, guess what they said? They said, yeah, it'll be 2-1 because it'll be Joe Glazer, Jim Ratcliffe, and David Brailsford. Like David Brailsford is gonna have a vote, like Jim. Are you kidding me? That is to insult our fucking intelligence.
Let me ask you.
They're doing this to insult our intelligence. Bumbaye, like you said when you made the statement before, you said about the football, the performance, we see it differently. On this one, I've been researching this shit for 5 fucking years. All of this is lip service to say they needed a bit of money because we always said that. We always said the Glazers are going to get investment. We stayed consistent for 11 to 12 months in this channel. And we said they're going to get an investment. We were worried about, remember, Elliott Group. We were worried about all the other vulture capitalist companies in the New York, so the vultures who vulture around. And we were worried about the Elliott Group because they did the same thing to AC Milan. AC Milan owners were broke. They went in there and took over. They had it for 2 years and they ran it into the ground. Then they sold it to some other vultures. So at the end of the day, the only thing what Jim Ratcliffe is giving them, all this is lip service. The biggest thing for me, which will tell me there is some bite to this, is that if when they come in, they cancel Glazonomics. That means, Bombay, that every player on that football team, in that first team squad, every one of them can be got rid of just like that. Then that's when my ears will prick and go, okay. And then one day you'll go out and get the best, the experts around the world at cooking food, not giving people fucking food poisoning, uncooked fucking chicken in the kitchen of Manchester United catering. Number one, not having a sports science department that is woefully failing, where players are getting injured right, left, and centre, that can't even bring players back from long-term injuries without them breaking down. That is to do
I
anything
think
about injury and rehab programs.
I know
That
where you're
is
going with this, bro.
fixing all of the infrastructure in the training ground, bringing it up to modern standards of what it is to be a modern football
Let
club,
me just
especially a
ask you
big one
this.
at that.
I know
Fixing
what
the stadium. I'm
you,
sorry, Bumbaye. Breaking news. I have to break this down to you. With 17 fucking %, you ain't doing shit.
look, let me just come back at you a second. Guys, you just tell me if I'm wrong. I'm only here to ask the questions to gain some clarity. Everything you said, Nuruddin, is a possibility. Not all, all cards are on the table here. It could go many ways. I'm just trying to look at it from different angles. We could spend the next hour saying Jim's a rat, Glazers are evil. I get that. I'm not disputing any of this, yeah?
And excuse me, Mumbai, is any of those statements wrong?
It's not about being wrong. I'm just trying to
No, what?
explore.
No, the Glazers have destroyed Manchester United. They've
Yeah,
had
they
it for
have.
18 years.
Sure, sure.
Ferguson leaves, they
Yeah,
destroyed it. Jim the
yeah.
Ratcliffe came and give him the investment for them to stay in. This is what Sky Carvey is saying tonight. Sky Carvey, please post it. Sky Carvey said this. What did he say? He said something about, he said, the Glazers are here to stay. There is no willingness to be able to have any shares because everybody and their nan told me there was a pathway. There's going to be a pathway. There's going to be a pathway. And that was shut down straight away. The Glazers are not going anywhere. So when you make it so, like that's not a fact. Have the Glazers destroyed Manchester United? Yes. Have the Glazers run up a debt over £1 billion? Yes. Have the Glazers sacked 5 different managers, including this one, when they sack him? Yes. Have they put in 6 different interims? More than the managers we've had? Yes. Has Manchester United did anything in the last 10 years other than that 2003 to go into the quarterfinals of the Champions League? Yes. These are all facts.
Yes,
They're not my statements. Did I
No.
say to people from November, they're not going to sell? I know the Glazers, they're not going to sell. They're looking for investment. Facts. I'm
I think
sorry. These are the
Jim
facts. And you're
Ratcliffe.
telling me, no, we've got to say, you know what? Jim, you're saying they're horrible. Jim's
No, no.
horrible. No, these are the facts.
I wish
They're not
you'd let me
questionable.
say
They're the
what
facts.
I want to say. I wish you would just give me a minute to give it you. Everything you said isn't breaking news. Everybody knows that. But we've got a guy that's coming in. There have been a few statements made. So I think time will tell what Jim Ratcliffe's influence is going to be on this club. I've said previously on these shows, sure, I don't trust him. He can gain my trust or he can just confirm what we already think is likely to happen because we don't have any faith. However, if he comes in and starts to address things that are within his power, like the medical team changes, like we start actually acting like Man United in the transfer market. We bring in a director of football. We get better in all these departments. Then let's say the Glazers are here for the next 10 years, but these things start to improve. It doesn't mean I like the Glazers or ever like them or want them, but we can have the Glazers and keep it exactly how it is now and keep doing the same old shit, hiring people that are not qualified, that don't have any pedigree, not really even speaking about addressing issues like the stadium, like the medical department, or we've got a guy that's here. It's up to him. There is a possibility, or there is now some. I can look at Jim and say, okay, Jim, let's see what are you going to do any of this shit that we've heard the noise. We've heard the noise. It's good noise. Let's see you do it. If they do it, like you said, your ear might pierce. So it is a waiting game. It's his to fuck it up, or it's his to. So okay, it is only 17%. We have got a guy at the top of that pyramid, but I am the operations man. They have failed miserably in that department. It is a marketing marvel, great, but in this department, the team is a failure. It has been for a long time, for 11 years now, nearly. Um, let's see if Jim can start to maybe address some issues, which are addressable. They're not mammoth things. You're just bringing in highly qualified, good people that have experience, that are respected in these departments or that have done it before. The argument you had with Fletcher and Ratcliffe and a few other names that they didn't have any experience. There's no credibility there. There's no pedigree there. But the kind of people that he's mentioning now, that they do. It's the first time I've ever heard things like the medical department is so dreadful in the injury record that we need to address it. It's the first time I've ever heard about actually investing in the stadium. It's the first time I've heard names that you think, yeah, okay, director of football, shit like that. So he might be a minority stakeholder, but I think the agreement and the understanding that they have between themselves is either going to come to fruition and we'll see some positive change. We can see positive change, or you will just continue to be the Manchester United that we've been accustomed to seeing. So there are still possibilities there. But everything you said is right, but it doesn't mean there isn't a possibility. It's up to him to either prove you right completely, emphatically, or hang on a minute, okay, the Glazers are still here, but this is a little bit better. I'll take a little bit better. I'm not going to get exactly what I want, but maybe we'll get a bit close to what I want. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You've made the point. You've made your point.
Okay.
Like I said to you, first of all, the debt is contributing to what is
I mean, is what I said bullshit, or what do you think?
No, that's the point. Listen, no, that's the point of view told. No problem. That's the point of view told.
I'm only asking the questions to hear what Jarvis thinks.
Listen,
Tom,
when you said that
fans.
we can go, the Glazers are terrible, Jim's are right. I was just pointing out the facts because we're not just saying that. There are facts. There's
I know that. I know that. But there's still a door that can be opened.
Anyway, listen,
right?
But you made a point. You've made a point. Right? I should say this and I'll go to Jarvis quickly.
Yep.
At Manchester United, the biggest thing for me was the debt. Because we pay 100 million a year on the debt interest. So we owe 550 million around to the bankers for 18 years, 19 years now, nearly. We own 300 million outstanding to clubs that we own, like that, transfer money that we own to clubs, outstanding still. And then also, I think we maxed out the card in the bank, if I'm not mistaken, Jarvis, that we would get them the money for transfers. I think that's about 250 million. We maxed that out. So we own $1 billion and $1 billion, 1 billion too. 1 billion, 1.2 billion. That's what we own. Now, they're coming out. The Glazers always needed something for them to say, we can't spend. Because with that level of debt, Jarvis, you can't then FFP would be pressure because we pay the biggest wages in world football. I repeat for the people at the back, a club that's 9th in the Premier League and has not been anywhere near a league title for a fucking decade, and all I've got to show for is 2 League Cups and a fucking Europa League and an FA Cup. It's the only thing I recognise. I've been in the top 2 or 3 of the biggest wage payers in world football. So now they've got FFP, Jarvis. They have FFP while we're paying £1 million, £100 million a year. That goes to the debt financing for interest. We could be using that for transfer. How much difference would that make, Jarvis? If we didn't have to pay 100 million a year on interest alone?
Yeah, I read an article from that guy who's called the Swedish Rumble on Twitter. He wrote an article and he said if the Glazers had put in 90 million this summer, we could have spent 500 millions in transfers. He had done the calculations. He's a lawyer, so he knows what he's talking about. So this is how it is.
Jarvis,
the FFP is holding us back.
Jarvis, they don't even have to put it in. They just have to get rid of the debt.
Yeah.
They just have to move the debt onto their other businesses and take it away from Manchester United. For us, that 100 million would go straight into our thing. We will never have to deal with FFP. Never.
Yeah. But I don't want to let go.
Sorry,
yeah. Bring that up.
I'll come back to you. Big up Multi TV. Thanks for the super chat. It says Glazer should be gone. Palestine should be free. But we live in a corrupt world. We live in. I agree, bro.
100%.
Nick says here, Man UFC Realist TV. Nick says, sack them all. Fuck this club. Merry Christmas. What a joke. Listen, it is what it is. Yeah. This is the reality of where we are with everything. This is the reality, but thanks for the super chat. At the end of the day, it's simple for me. Jarvis, go ahead. Go ahead, Jarvis. I'll mute.
Yeah. I need Tom's expertise to finish my point, but I just want to start out and I just want to go back to the Super League because it's important. That's an important point because if you know the NFL, National Football League in America, there's organizations. It's divided in the Eastern and Western Division. I think there's about 50 teams in 25 on each or 30 on each side of the coast.
Jarvis, they're called franchises, not
Franchise.
teams.
Yeah, it's franchises. They will always make money because they have a salary cap, and they seldomly buy players. They have drafts and they draft players, and then, like every 10 to 15 years, one of the clubs wins. So they win in turn because of how the system is rigged, and they all make money on the way. This is what the Glazers want because
Sounds like the presidential elections.
But then they don't have to take care of the debt because the debt will pay itself because their expenses will go down. There will be no FFP because the Super League is a private company. It's the A22, I think.
It's a private league.
Yeah,
Private league is basically what
they are the owners now pushing for the Super League. So this is potent stuff. You know, football will change from the way we know it. We will basically be the NFL, but the European Football League with a couple of divisions. So everything will change by now if this is a reality. And I just wanted to bring Tom in to maybe tell a little bit about if you have any information about the A22 sports management and Joe Perez and the Juventus guy and Joe Glazers, the guy who is behind the Super League. Do you have any info to fill out the details?
And could somebody shed some light as well on
I can
what's
give you
the
a little
difference
bit,
between
Jarvis.
the Premier League and the thing you just said, Jarvis? Is the Premier League a privately owned thing? Well, how does it differ?
Premier League's government. The Premier League is governmentally regulated. The only difference is the government
really,
don't
Tom.
have.
Tom, it's not really.
Well, yeah. Let me
regulated.
finish.
It's
Let me
not.
finish what I was saying. The way that it works is politics and football. Politics, if they want to get involved in football, they can. Anybody who saw what happened with Newcastle had a problem with the piracy issue, and Saudi Arabia couldn't buy Newcastle. As soon as the British government got involved, opened a few doors, keys, relationships were made. Suddenly, Newcastle can then be bought by Saudi Arabia. It's funny when politics gets involved in football.
Let me ask you this.
The way the Premier League works is it's a private football league with the way that the Premier League works, just as the whole football league works. However, they rely on the TV revenue deals that they get with broadcasters. So, for example, Sky, BT, Amazon Prime. If Apple wants to get involved, for example, and have a couple, DAZN, they rely on these TV deals that they get to revenue and finance their money. But the way that it works from an ownership side of things, and this is why, say, you have people like Gary Neville who's been blowing up for, say, 5 years, saying we need a football regulator in this league, because you need a football regulator in this league to regulate how much clubs are allowed to spend, and so that the competitiveness of a league is fair. So, for example, you can have Luton Town spend £100 million just as much as Manchester United can at the top of the table, or Manchester City. Every summer, every club has a transfer cap of £200 million, or they have a wage structure where they're only allowed to pay players, say, I don't know, £750,000, but that's over numerous players that you buy. That's how it has to fit in. In the same way what Jarvis said with, say, the NFL, that's the model. You wage cap it, and the way that they don't have to necessarily buy players, it's through a drafting system. So they get the players and they trade. That's how it works. That's American sports for you. The NBA is pretty similar. And yeah, that's how franchise football works, really, in America. But in the UK, if we're going to do it for the ESL, European Super League, the money was never the issue with this league. The competitors to come into this league was never the issue. The problem was that they had pissed off that many organisations like UEFA and FIFA. They thought that their business and their governing and themselves as a governing body, they thought they were going to lose the power over European football and over world football in FIFA's case. That's the reason why they did what they did, and they blocked the merger for it to happen. And the only way now, like we're saying before, Jarvis, with the Justice for Sport case that came out, where they regulated to say that FIFA and UEFA acted irrespectively and they encroached the European Super League from happening. The only way now that you can look at it from the landscape of football and say is UEFA and FIFA need to cut a deal with the organisers of it, like you're saying, AA2 Sports Management, either cut a deal with one of these companies and say you can make a Super League, but we want to work with you on this. And we'll abolish the Champions League, but we'll make it a UEFA competition. And we go into partnership. Unless UEFA do something like that, that's the only way that this is going to happen for everybody. And everybody will be happy. Yeah,
Can I come in with my 2 pence before we wrap up? Basically, the Super League comes up. It's the death of football as we know it. Perez already talked about youngsters having everything instant, like the TikTok. They want to put football in TikTok. Like they want to make it short. They want to even break it down the game and make it maybe 25 or 30 minutes per half and have 3 halves of 90 minutes and all of that business.
Yeah, 3 and 4 quarters. Yeah.
So because they want to, the money that they're going to generate, they're going to get it off advertisers. I explained it the other day. So if anybody wants to go and watch that video, you can go ahead and watch
advertising broadcast as well.
Advertising broadcaster in America. Yeah. The most expensive is the Super Bowl in NFL. It's the most expensive advertising purchase in anywhere in the world. Companies spent hundreds of millions to get 2 minutes in an advert to get their adverts out. They have a halftime show. It's all about everything. They bring everything. It's not even about the game. It's about everything else that's around.
Commercialization.
What the fuck?
That's the gym coming into Man United, guys. Crash and bang.
Fucking hell. It gave me a heart attack.
Does the government have the right to intervene against the Super League?
Well, the government have said so, but I don't trust this government.
That's the ruling on Thursday, Mumbai. That's the ruling on Thursday.
They vote
because
on
of
it,
competitive reasons.
Yeah,
because won't the government be effectively
monopoly?
So let me just break this down. No, Mumbai, 1 second.
Cut out of it.
Mumbai, let me say something. Basically, the reason why that statement was made, Jarvis, if you look at the European Union, they're all bureaucrats. None of it. All of it is lobbied, and the laws that are made in the European Union, you don't have to take my word for it, is multinational corporations. Multinational corporation, a lot of them with a big money happen to be from where, Jarvis? The US. So they bring about these things, then nobody's here to safeguard. So what I'm saying to you, you should be worried. If you're European, you should be worried. You're getting the Americanization of your sport. All these Super League teams will become a franchise. Juventus are big players. Real Madrid and Barcelona are big players. I don't trust any of the European Union. I don't trust any governments, because the reason why Manchester United was allowed to take over high leverage deal is because Gordon Brown and Tony Blair, who was supposed to be Labour, opened the markets. They deregulated the markets. So then that happened that you could do a high leverage takeover on a sport institution, which is the heart of a community, and football being different. Germany, one thing I will tell you, Jarvis, one thing I will guarantee you, because of the fan ownership models in Germany, 50+1 rule, I'll be absolutely gobsmacked and shocked if they went into a Super League. So the other thing what Tom failed just to add is that the Premier League, Mumbai, is 20 clubs in the Premier League. You've got established clubs, United, Liverpool, City,
the Super League
clubs, Arsenal, those guys.
Yeah, well, the top 6. That's what
the top 6 dominate it. What you've got is the money gets shared out equally. The money gets shared out, and then the bits of it goes into the Football League, right? Till League 2, you know what I mean? That's what happens. They have to go. So when the Premier League was established, they said we're going to. So every club is his own person. Now they all argue and come out with this and come out. We're not paying this. Why do you have to pay for the football pyramid. That's the word. The football pyramid. Why do we have to be responsible? You have to be responsible because it's an ecosystem and we all exist in it. That's why they have to do it. Now, the problem has always been that everybody been scared that they're going to break away and do a deal with Amazon, United, and Liverpool will do that because they're the biggest fan bases in from Britain, right? And
US
they
as
will
well.
do that, right? They will do that, right? So, but they've never done that. So now, I don't trust any Labour or Tory government or any government for that side because you can get brown envelopes. I don't, like I said to you, the European Union, even though it's European, Americans stay over there, you know, and I know Americans are like, we were closing our borders. This is America. This is American constitution. This is what we stand for. We don't want anybody interfering. Well, guess what? For the past 40 to 50 years, American companies have been writing the EU laws and lobbying EU in Brussels. I've been there. I saw it. I saw it with my own eyes. I saw the most expensive hotels, the cars, everything there. What are the lobbyists that are there? And that because Europe is a big market. Big market. The 20 teams, just to say, the 20 teams in the Premier League govern themselves. That's why they come out and say, we set up these rules. The FA imposes the rules on the games. FA has got zero power. I know a friend of mine was part of a group that went to bloody FA headquarters when the Glazers bought Manchester United. It's not like Bombay. We didn't know what they were doing. I was outside Old Trafford in 2005. There, protesting when it was a full-on riot. So they went there and the FA were like, the Glazers will look after you. I know it's a high leverage, but Manchester United make a lot of money. You'll still be successful. And the government will said, we'll have a word with the Glazers. So I don't buy that. Jarvis has hit the nail right on the head. The connection between these people, the people who are now part of Juventus, all of it is connected to the banking system and the global elites of bankers, and that's what they are. Go ahead, Jarvis.
Yeah, I just want to say, isn't it ironically that we have been talking about the Glazers for 18 years, but now the Glazers, Joe Glazers, is one of the founder of the Super League, who come in and fuck off football.
There was three,
It's ironically, everybody, all the other clubs cheered and mocked us because of the Glazers, and now Joe Glazer come in and screw football as we know it. This is how cancer spreads. It's true.
They're partying as we know it, Jarvis. They're partying tonight as we know it.
So what's the resistance? What is the...
2 seconds. And my commentary, you see the bottom line is that football operations don't generate profits as we speak. They generate money on revenue commercials. But with the Super League, the clubs who are invited will make shitload of revenue.
And the reason why, Jarvis, is because they can add whatever sponsorship deals they might have with companies into the Super League for their own club. So everybody, to coin the phrase, everybody's going to piss in the same pot, guys. You can have Adidas, who are going to be sponsored 10 times more in the Super League because they've probably got 5 or 6 chain clubs that they have that will compete in that competition, that they're a main shirt sponsor for. Same thing with Nike, same thing with Jordan, potentially even with some other companies. If they have multiple deals, that's how it will work, unfortunately. But the one thing that I was going to say to it anyway, what you were saying with the regulation with the league and with similar to what happened with the Glazers. Well, put it this way, the Premier League couldn't lobby to stop Roman Abramovich coming into this country with Russian government money and buying Chelsea Football Club. They couldn't stop him to do it. They couldn't stop Abu Dhabi coming in and being the first nation state to really make a mark in Europe and buy something of significance, a Premier League football team, and then turn it into what it is today. And then you've just, like I said before, the intervention that the government had in the Newcastle takeover. As soon as they got rid of piracy and the piracy claims from Be Out Q and turned it from BN Sports so they weren't ripping off the Qataris, wipe a couple of brown envelopes over to Whitehall, suddenly it's all good. Green light ahead. And at the end of the day, in the same way now, with what we're seeing with Ratcliffe, where he's going to come in and he's going to try and make some sort of an effort. He's basically like a mole with no money. You're coming in, you've got no money to use internally at the club because you don't have control over it. So either you're going to be the financier of the whole team, or, as you guys are saying, you're going to rely on a bigger project ahead of you, which will be the Super League.
Um,
And at the end of the day, the one thing that I'll say, guys, is there's two things that will make Manchester United join the Super League. Two things. Manchester United are not big enough and have the balls to be the first league to go into that competition. They don't. There's two clubs ahead of them that will join before them. That will be
Madrid.
Arsenal. Well, Madrid and Barcelona, but if I'm talking the Premier League, Arsenal and Liverpool. And the reason why those clubs don't make as much money as what Manchester United do in this current ecosystem. But in the Super League, they'll make the same as what Manchester United will. Why? Because what you're saying, guys, it will be capped. Everybody will make the same as everybody. But what everybody's making, guys, everybody will be happy with. Because it's more than what they're going to make right now. And right now, you have to compete to make the most money. In that franchise system, you don't have to compete to make the most money. You just have to participate to make money. That's it. That's the difference.
Let me
So at the
ask
end
this.
of the day, from a whole perspective, the Super League will bail out anybody who wants to just have an easy life in sports. You buy in, you might have to pay a couple of TV deals, you can do whatever you want with your sponsors. Yeah, you're going to make as much as the next person next to you, but if you're happy to sit on that money every single year, who's going to be bothered, guys? And nobody, as we've seen from the Department of Justice for Sport, said that FIFA and UEFA acted in the wrong manner and with no common knowledge to do what they did, when they've come out and said that those two sporting institutions and governing bodies can't do anything, and they rule European football, when they tell you that they can't do anything, you're fucked. You are
Are we, Tom? Are we saying? Sorry, I'm not. Let me just make sure I understand. You know, I'm a little bit behind. If the Super League goes ahead, I understand the structure of it. So that will be free from any government intervention or influence.
Yeah, because it's private.
Yes.
It's not going to be attached
Yeah,
to a country.
it is.
Because-
Let me
it's not
just. Let me,
country.
do you know? I
Yeah.
get it. It is effectively the cuts
Brand
out
envelope.
the
You
government.
know how the world works.
Yeah. So what
Yeah.
happens? What we're saying there is the revenue in taxes that are levied by the government from the Premier League are effectively taken away lawfully by privatization of football because these clubs want to go and join, and there's no. They're not subject to FFP again because it's private. They're basically flying solo and will come to a collective agreement and distribute the money amongst themselves.
I'll say this one word. The way that it would work with the Super League is they would make the rules up as they go along to whatever suits every single one of them.
Yeah.
And so long as they all make enough money, they don't care what the rules are, so long as they're going to stick on that same amount year in, year out.
And you
That's
guys
how
don't
they'd be
believe
Can I
that the
just get this
government
quickly?
is gonna fuck with anybody that's taking their money?
No, they're not.
No,
No, they're not. No, they're not because
No.
they'll get
they'll get a payment.
They'll get a payment.
Or they'll
But
sue
the
them
thing
and
is,
then they'll get a massive payout.
the thing
Either
is
way.
if one of the club doesn't make the same amount of money, they will try to move that club to another city. They have done it in American football.
There you go.
You know, maybe Manchester United won't be Manchester United no
Right.
more. Maybe they will be some other big cities United,
And Jarvis-
because that will make more money.
And Jarvis, while you're there, Man United will play in Melbourne. Man United will play in New York in some of the Super League games.
Yeah.
Man United will play in somewhere like Mexico City. Manchester United will play somewhere like in Turkey or
Rio
whatever,
de Janeiro,
or
wherever,
Indonesia, Indonesia or Thailand, one of the games, or China, Beijing. But listen, let me just get this. Google this. Can you get the quote for me, please? Is this true? Club has already defended the court's decision. Says it's all about the club's intentions. Wow. So it's not official. Have Liverpool signed up for the Super League already?
They've made a statement against it, though. And I know that doesn't mean anything, guys, but
if it goes ahead, guys, what
that's
does that mean for if it goes ahead, the Super League, and it's formed in the near future? Now, I understand for maybe our age group, I'll probably turn off
I'm going to support. We're going to support local teams. We're going to support
whoever
the local team is. A league that will be developed by then.
Yeah, but I think the danger of its success will be in the younger generations because of how they're consuming information. And I think teams, the young people now, football, I thought was waning a little bit, but people are following players. more. Like Messi is a brand, he's a team all in itself. Ronaldo, Mbappe, Haaland. So I think they will take a lot of the youngsters with them because we've made gods of players now. The player is bigger than the club. You saw that in Spain with the departure of Messi and Ronaldo. It destroyed the league, effectively killed it. So I think
yeah.
the player trumps the club, and we're not talking about small clubs. These are two giants, and
Yeah.
you know they've shifted
I
the
think
young
it'd
ones.
be.
So
I
I
think
think
it'd be.
that's
Yeah.
where it will. I think that's where the traction is.
I'd want to see.
Unfortunately,
I'd want to
we
see,
don't really
guys.
matter.
I'd want to see what the player commitment towards this would be if these clubs
Interesting, yeah.
did join again. And the reason why I say that is because from a player perspective, what's the
It's wrong.
competition? What's the competition for it? Who cares about winning an ECL? You win the ECL. Nobody cares about that. If you win the Champions League, that's history. That's legacy. The ECL, that's nothing. That's a modern day project. That's just like the FIFA Club World Cup.
Tom, I just want to get this. Listen, Tom, as everybody knows that. I just want to get this. Big up, Rafi Duam says, could you please explain the video title, Judas? Well, he's portrayed a Manchester United fans. That's what he's done. He's portrayed a Manchester United fan. So that's why we're using a biblical term in terms of somebody who portrayed the fans. That's what we're saying.
Can you read out Mick Ruby's comment about
Todd
Chelsea?
Bowley.
The Todd Bowley one. That's spot on. It's a pattern. Chelsea's confiscated Romano's money, sold it to Todd Bowley.
100 million%
knowing
right.
about the Super League.
100 million% right.
The reading is on the wall. It's happening.
Yeah, of course. Listen, I knew this already. Listen, because the biggest things that I follow, the only other way would be, Jarvis, is the fans kick off, and a government in time has to appease the fans in this country, right? The government in that time would have to appease the fans in this country, so much so that the fans literally do a sit-in and there's no games. The games are cancelled in this country. That's the only way you're going to stop it, by people power. But I'm talking about year after year after year of sustained civil disobedience and direct action. And I don't see that happening because the British the British people have been beaten into submission by the elites in this country. We've got a class system here, Jarvis, a very restricted class system. And the media lies to them, manipulates them, and tells them it's about the black and the brown person. That's their problem. And the refugee or the immigrant, that is where the problems is. And that's the country we live in. But anyway, people, we've talked about it enough. Super League would be, it's like I said to you, it's a tragic day for Manchester United. Jim the Ratcliffe is in here. There is no possible pathway to a sale. There is no, in terms of, they asked him. So my last quote to say is that the Glazers asked Jim to get in touch of football operations so they can take it away anytime they want. They delegated it to him. And so as long as they're the biggest shareholders, they can take it away anytime they want. And they are still the biggest shareholders. So they've lost 17. Quick maths, Jarvis, quick maths. 69, you're taking, what, 52% of the shares of Class B shares still belong to who?
Yeah, the Glazers.
They
have the power. And the Class B shares that's worth 10 times more when it comes to voting rights.
They have all of the voting rights. And that's why they're only giving him 17. They've not given 25% of their own vote on their own Class B shares. They've given him, that's what they've given him. They've given him
but that was because of the lawsuit, the Lindsay Trains and all the other Class A share, the big Class A shareholders, because they were threatening with the lawsuit, so they had to divide it. They had to be the same. They had to buy B shares and A shares to make a fair.
But it's interesting.
Yeah,
it's interesting what the statement said. He can buy 25% of those, but he's starting off with 8% first. 8%, by the way. That's
and putting 117 million pounds into the 6 siblings' pockets, so they can buy a new yacht and choke themselves on truffles and caviar.
How likely is the Super League?
Say that again?
How likely is the Super League for you guys?
It is very likely now.
Yeah.
Very likely.
I think
There's going to be another court decision, but this is how they're going to do it, Bombay. They're going to do it through FIFA and UEFA.
They're going to make them. They're going to make their enemies partners. And
they're going to
they'll
make their enemy
both
partners,
cheat.
and then FIFA are going to say, "Well, we've got to do it. We've got to listen to it." It's European law, competition, and monopoly, and I've just explained to you guys.
And the government taxes will not be transparent. You're saying it won't be public knowledge. Are you saying they're just going to forevermore just give brown envelopes? That's what you're saying?
Yeah. Let me just get this. Big up to Rafi Dom. Thought it was a bit racist. If you challenge, I'm not going to judge you, but if you know what slur Judas means, basically we're talking about betrayal. We're talking about in terms of biblical terms. We're talking about like Sol Campbell, for example, Spurs player.
It's from the Bible. Judas Iscariot, the one who betrayed Jesus. That's.
We've been betrayed by the Glazers, man. It's
so he went. So in football terms, I'm not even going to get to Bible. In football terms, Sol Campbell played for Spurs. He went to Arsenal. From the Spurs fans, he's known as Judas. In terms of when you portray somebody, that's what he's done. He claims to be a Manchester United fan. He's given the Glazers what they wanted. That's what he's done. So that's what we're talking about. Jim the Judas, because Jim goes with Judas. Jim Judas. That is instead of Jim Ratcliffe, we call him Jimjudas. That is all it is. Nobody's being racist here. That is what it is. Betrayal of Manchester United fans. And in our grief, you can take it however you want to take it. But in our grief, that's what we decided to call him. And we're not here to offend anybody. No. We're not here to offend anybody of any persuasion. Everybody's welcome here. Always be welcome. And we defend the humanity of everyone. And with that, we say, free Palestine, stop the genocide. Stop the genocide in Sudan, in the Congo, in the Tigray region of Ethiopia. Stop the war in Ukraine. Stop the war wherever it's happening. But specifically, the genocide over 2 months of continuous bombing and the killing of women and children and babies, where 10,000 of them are no longer with us.
No. Not the killing, the murdering, bro.
Oh, they're killing and murdering. It's murdering and killing, yeah. It's murder, it's genocide. It's just genocide. So,
even on Christmas Eve.
Even on Christmas Eve. And you know what?
Children.
Jesus was from Palestine, Bethlehem, and you know what? He'll be getting bombed tonight. That's the irony. That's the irony. I'll be posting it on tomorrow on social media. So have a spare thought for people in Bethlehem and the Christians there celebrating the birth of Jesus and everything else. And they're there. They've cancelled Christmas. But Merry Christmas to everybody else. And unfortunately, we had to come on here and talk about this. We didn't want to, but we had to. But Merry Christmas again. Like I said, fuck Zionism, because it's a racist apartheid system the way we see it in Israel right this moment in time. They try to pull one over everybody's eyes. And at the end of the day, they're murdering Palestinians. We believe in the humanity of everybody, and we discriminate against nobody, regardless of gender, orientation, and ethnicity, or color, creed, wherever you are. We will always defend your right to be human, and we will always fight you for your humanity. That is where we're at, people. So, have a spare thought. Enjoy your drinks. Enjoy getting merry tonight. Big up to everybody. Love and light. Airfan won't be coming back on here. So you're going to have to go and seek him out and subscribe to and follow him on Twitter. But big up to you. Love and light, people. No, it has been 79 days since the murder started. Now happening still. Yeah. It's nearly 3 months. It's just heartbreaking on every level. And we have absolutely, the only thing we've got is that Palestinians said, if you can't do anything about stopping our genocide, please let people know that we're being genocided. And that's what we're doing with every platform that we have. That's with every platform we have. With every platform we have, that's all we can do, people. So free, somebody says, free Israel. Johannes, good luck with that one, my friend. Good luck with that. Listen, big up to every one of you. Merry Christmas, man. just miracle. I hope Java's household, everybody was good in Santa's good books.
Yes.
No naughtiness. No naughtiness except for a naughtiness that is sweet. That's the only naughtiness that's allowed. But no other naughtiness. But Jarvis, you can finish us off and tell us what's the temperature outside tonight at Christmas.
It's
in
not too
northern
bad.
Norway.
I think it's -6 degrees outside, but the fireplace has been going full throttle
It's not.
all
It's
day.
not too bad. He says.
It's not too bad. It's -6 degrees.
Well, my living room was so hot. I think it was like 28 degrees inside. I was sweating. I asked my wife if I could open the door just to like get some fresh air, but she was like sitting there freezing. So, okay.
Big up to you, Rafi says, thank you for clarifying Judas' use in the football world, which I was unaware of until you pointed it out for me. No problem, man. Rafi, no problem.
Big up,
Look
Rafi.
it up, honestly, look it up. Go to Spurs supporters thing. They call him Judas. They call
Till today.
Until today. They still call him Judas. Like, and so many other players who've left from one club. That's why football players are afraid to go from Liverpool to United or from Manchester United to Liverpool because they will forever be known as Judas. That's how it is. But yeah. Love and light, man. Love and light. Big up to everybody. Big up. I call my missus Judas all the time.
There you go. That's the ultimate validation for the word.
Craig,
Job done, Craig.
Craig, we need to get your wife on here because we love to know what she calls you. That's the question is, Craig, what does your wife call you? That's the question. People reference to Ralph Ranick from time, but don't actually acknowledge the digested. Listen, we were there. We were the biggest champions in this channel. We were the biggest champions of Ralph Ranick because the only guy who went inside that football club, looked underneath the bonnet and said,
Where's the engine?
Where's the engine? Where's the heart? No heart. No, Paul Ince. But listen, I understand standard protocol format. What a name. What a name. Standard. Paul Ince went to Inter Milan via Liverpool. He rang Manchester United and Fergie first, and they said, no, thank you. Michael Owen spoke to Liverpool. They said, no, thank you. Both Michael Owen and Paul Ince, both of them wanted to go back to Liverpool. They said no. Ince wanted to come back to United. They said no. That is the truth. Nothing but the truth.
I just want to say one more
Merry
thing
Christmas
before we
to you
leave.
Big up to
Nordin.
you.
Sorry, I just want to say one more thing before we leave. There's been around 300 people watching the show all the time, and I think we are providing you with a lot of insight and not insight, but a lot of knowledge and new thoughts. I don't think you see this on other channels. So please hit a like. You know, we have 133 likes as we speak, and that's only a third of you. So take up your phone, press the like.
Asking,
you know,
I've
because
asking Jarvis.
we are shadow banned on this channel. We need the support we can have to reach out.
I've stopped asking because I've told them about how it's been shadow banned and how it is literally on subscribers. So I've stopped asking. At the end of the day, I'm not here to beg anybody. We're here to talk about football.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about it in the pub if we were all in the same city, Jarvis. We'll be meeting you tonight, going, the Glazers have had us. So we do it on here. We don't charge anybody on here to join as a member and all that BS. We don't do any of that, Jarvis. All we ask for you to help us fight the YouTube algorithm is to smash a like on the video. That's all. And there's still 255 of you in here. And all you've got to do is just smash that like. That's it. That's all you got to do. So for the Jim Ratcliffe Twerkers, I see you. I see you, and I'll be going after you on Twitter like I usually do. And I'll be there speaking truth to some of these deluded souls. And I have to use the word deluded because I think some of them do it on purpose. They do it to troll me. And I have to use those insulting words as deluded because I'm sorry. I've kept an eye on this. I match my knowledge against anybody on the Glazers. 5 years of my time invested looking into underneath the bonnet. And I was the biggest champion of Ralph Ranick. The biggest champion. Twerk, 25%, mate. Know what I mean? Love and light, always. Love and light, people. Big up to you. The channel belongs to you, people. We're a community. Therapy Army, it's the only way to come to moan and to speak honestly. Therapy, you have to speak honestly. So that's why I will never say anything I don't believe. Jarvis will never do it. Bombay will never do it. That's why it's great. Shall we get into heated arguments? Because everybody believes in what they say. There's no acting here. There's no acting here. We will be there. I don't know if any protest is planned. I don't know on Tuesday, but I don't think so. I don't think anything is planned. I don't even see recently, I've not even seen any of the banners. But I've seen from one of the, I don't know if any of you said the last thing to say on this. I saw a statement from, I think it might have been Must, saying that unless the Glazers go, 25% is not going to do anything. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. But one thing I want to shout out and big up to 1958, they asked every supporters association of Manchester United, I think there's 5 or 6, if I'm not mistaken, Bombay and Jarvis, 5 or 6 different kind of fan groups, right? They've asked them all to come together to disengage from the Glazers, to come together and for us to fight on one front. And unfortunately, every one of them started to make an excuse why they have to collaborate with the Glazers. So as far as I can say, they can fuck off and do one.
This is sad, man. This is really...
Bankers out, Glazers out, Ratcliffe, the rat out. Free Palestine, free Congo, free Sudan, free wherever there's conflict in this world.
Yemen.
Free Yemen, free all these different places. And love and light to everybody all of our people who celebrating Christmas. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We'll be back, me and Saeed, tomorrow. We'll be doing a Villa preview, sorry, not review, Villa preview. And we will see what happens with Jimmy. But Jim sold out the Manchester United tonight. Jim is the biggest betrayer of Manchester United tonight, people. That's what he's done. And now the Glazer, Joe Glazer, thinks he's not going to be trending on Twitter anymore. Well, we've got news for you, Glazer. As long as I'm on social media, as long as Jarvis on social media, as long as any United fans with any sense are on social media, you will be trending, my son. You and Jim the Rat will be trending. Jim Glazer can fuck off. Viva, viva!
Palestina!
Peace.
Sarah, take care,
everybody.
people. Take care. Good night. Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.